Democratic governor signs Massachusetts bill that allows abortions up to birth.
Right in her face.
A black man who stabbed a sleeping 6-year-old white boy to death has just walked out of prison. Estimated 1.1 million clinician-provided abortions murders occurred in the United States in 2025. 44 to 48,000. And this just says gun-related deaths annually. Human life is worth protecting. People want to argue about gun rights. Well, they're not killing a million people.
Right.
Not every year. And if what this guy says is actually true, then, man, the possibilities of who has been killed over the years by way of there being a call or a list, a card, a note, or something being passed down from government, this should truly be alarming. Watch this video of this former CIA spy. They've announced 5 city-run grocery stores. Did you know this?
So the case is proven that this guy is innocent, and he's not the guy. And the people that are saying, here's how this really happened, and here's who's behind it, and they're connected. To me, she's still a grieving widow. She's still a mother. At the end of the day, do I like how things are going? No. Do I question it? You better believe I do. Are my spidey senses going off? Everywhere.
Ecclesiastes 10:2. The heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Carry Podcast, episode 114 today. Excited to have another episode. We have had a very busy week here at the Daily Carry Podcast, but exciting week. We've had some very good discussions, and if you have not yet had a chance to tune in to episode 113, we had the gubernatorial shootout with Greg Lopez this week, and it was quite an episode.
It was eventful.
Yeah. I thought it was a great episode.
It was a great episode.
And I think that we did a good job of getting into a very meaty discussion. You know, going into that episode, I don't know if I can't think of very many episodes going into it where I knew that there was a lot of questions that a lot of just my personal circle wanted to be asked. And I had people texting me, and whenever we had announced that we had Greg Lopez that we were going to do a gubernatorial shootout with, I had people text me saying, ask this question, ask this question. And then I saw some people online that were engaging in some banter back and forth about different things. And so going into that interview, that gubernatorial shootout, there was a lot of things on my mind that I wanted to make sure to get right. That way, people who listen can have some of those questions answered. And unfortunately, I still don't think that some of the questions were really completely answered. But I think that he did what he could to try to answer with the information that he has. And he seems really optimistic.
Yeah.
He seems like I think that his message is good. I think that, you know, he's trying to say, hey, now's the time to get out of a broken system. As much as I think a lot of people would like to believe that it's time, for me personally, I'm just not completely fully convinced that an independent can win a state like Colorado. And that's just where I'm at now. Does that mean that I don't think that he's a decent person and that we didn't have a good time shooting with him? Of course not.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed both of the discussions that we've had with him.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, very nice guy. And I think that overall, he did a good job. There was a couple times in that episode whenever I was a little bit shocked because I was like, okay, this is what people are talking about when they're talking about the way that politicians answer questions. Because I was like, hey, I just wanted to know where these numbers are coming from.
Oh, yeah.
He kept on going, and I wasn't trying to be rude or I wasn't trying to be, argumentative. I was just genuinely asking. You listed out percentages. Like, where did these come from? What is this backed off of? To say these numbers, there's got to be some intention behind them. So what's the basis here? And unfortunately, he didn't really ever give a solid answer on that, other than there was one point I think he said where we track voter trends, but it took like 3 or 4 times to get him to that, and then he still didn't say like what trends he's tracking or anything. That's all that I want to know. It's like, if you've got a plan to win, let's hear the plan.
Right.
If you've got averages and statistics and numbers that's leading you there, I'm just wondering what that looks like.
You know what's funny? It's interesting you bring that up because that's actually, in all fairness, I think the only person out of all the front. So I'm going to say frontrunners. I want to be careful because there was a lot of people that came in here and sat in this podcast that had a plan, absolutely, in really detailed plans. But when I will list them off so I'm clear. I'll say Barb Kirkmeyer, Scott Bottoms, Victor Marks, Greg Lopez. We'll stick with those four. But I'm also going to include in John Hickenlooper, who's not been on, and Phil Weiser, who's not been on. But I've been paying attention to all of their stuff. I actually think that Barb was the only one that sat in here and collectively answered every question with a battle plan, or at least could summarize where the battle plan should be going based on her experience. They've all been wonderfully kind, every single person. I mean, I've said this over and over and over. I'm not blowing smoke. I've enjoyed every single, and they're all fun. They're fun people. I mean, like every one of them brings a very different personality, which has been great. Danielle
Lamons.
She's still one of my favorites. She was so funny.
Yeah.
And she's a 2A gal, but she was very witty. I really enjoyed her. I wrapped to it for a second, but I really appreciated her approach. But Barb was really the only one so far that's really answered the questions. For me, everybody else kind of just told a lot of stories. I mean, they shared a lot of things. And over on the left, if you're following anything that's going on over there, John Hickenlooper he cannot put a post out that does not talk about Trump. I mean, what Trump's doing in America. But that has nothing to do with the governorship here in Colorado. I don't think he's literally put out anything that shows in any way, shape, or form anything. So it's very interesting because even though we didn't necessarily get the answers from Greg, we really haven't gotten answers across the board collectively either, except for Barb.
I remember whenever we had Scott, I remember I asked some of the same questions because the gubernatorial shootout with Scott, he said early on, whenever he was like, "How's the campaign going?" He's like, "Oh, we're doing well. We're just growing like crazy everywhere. We're getting momentum all over the state." And I'm like, "What are the numbers based on? What is this based on?" And I think he just said, "Oh, just several different polls and people that are showing up and money's starting to come in." And he gave somewhat of a more direct answer. I appreciated that because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be that hard to answer that question. If you spout out a number, because here's the thing, the difference being for me is that even though other candidates may not have just spelled out a picture perfect battle plan with steps A, or let's just say it was a PACE plan,
sure,
primary, auxiliary,
right,
what's a contingency, emergency, even without spelling out a detailed plan like that, most of them were able to answer questions with the claims that they made. So Scott didn't come out and say, "I'm going to win by this many votes and this many."
Yeah.
He didn't give exact numbers or percentages.
Right.
And so that was a big difference to me, is that whenever somebody like Greg Lopez says 30% of the Republican or 30% of the Democrat vote, 20% of the Republican, 44-ish% of the independent vote, dude, you are being super precise on on your percentages here. So why are you saying that? All I'm wanting to know is, can you explain those percentages? I just think that maybe he was just saying that, and he was just kind of like just saying, "Oh, this is what I'm assuming it's probably going to be," and that's fine. He could have just said that. He could have just said, "Oh, that's just what I'm assuming. That's just my prediction. It's not really based on anything," and that would have been fine. Yeah. I would have appreciated that and rolled with that more so than just kind of telling a bunch of stories like what you're saying, because he seemed to do that even though he gave very specific numbers, which was my pet peeve. That was why I pressed so hard, because I was like, the question that I'm asking is not hard. It's just, what is this based on?
Well, I think what I was getting at, and I'm glad you brought that up in that way. So I hadn't really planned to come in and talk about all this today, so it's a little off cuff. But one of the things that I noticed with the constituency, specifically the constituency, is people are wanting answers to questions. So people want battle plans. People want to know what you're going to do for the state. People are going to know, where do you stand on the topic. Part of what I was referring to is exactly what you just hit on. When somebody throws something very specific out, and at the end of it can't substantiate it, I think that's where some people have gotten frustrated. in the constituency. So I watched it in Victor's camp a lot. It's like he's telling a lot of stories, but he's not answering specific questions. So it was kind of a reversal with him. He wasn't making specific statements and then not telling how he was going to do it. It was more so he was sharing a lot of stories and then not giving the plan. Now he's since then has come out with a lot of stuff, which is good. It's good to see. Barb was more on point. Scott answered questions, but then I think the state capitol claim and the pedophilia ring got him hemmed up a little bit because we've not been able to go back and authenticate that. So, there's just been a lot of things I think that have been thrown out, whether they've been thrown out tongue in cheek or whether they've been thrown out by design or intentionally. It still leaves voters in the constituency, I think, with questions, and they're not really sure what to do with that. So
I agree, and I'm having to fiddle with this thing a little bit to figure out what's going wrong with it, but I'm figuring it out.
Is it all on me now?
It was all on you, but now we're back a little bit. But yeah, no, I agree. I enjoyed all the conversations with all the candidates. I think that they all did a decent job of explaining their takes, where they're at, their battle plan, and now at the end of the day, I mean, think about it. We had so many people in the beginning. We had Jason Mikesell on. We had Joe Oltmann on. Who else was running for governor?
Oh gosh, just start reading it off the wall.
They're all on the wall.
Yeah, everybody's up here.
I don't know. That may be the extent of the candidates that we had that were running. I know there was more people that were.
We got a lot
running.
of Senate candidates, House reps. Yeah,
all on that wall of shame.
I said shame. Yesterday, John looked at me. I was like, "Oh, it was supposed to be tongue in cheek."
Yeah, I'm just saying that we've had a lot of candidates on, and now we're down to 3.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more, and we'll have a dedicated episode. It's a little bit, I think, early with the conversation having just taken place a couple days ago with Greg Lopez. So most likely in a couple weeks from now, we'll sit down, have a game plan, really maybe even come together with our thoughts and maybe even whiteboard some stuff and come and be like, well, this is where my experience was. This is what Micah's experience is.
Yeah.
And this is what we're both thinking. And this is where we're at. I think that would be a good episode.
I
think that out of all the episodes that we've had, a lot of the times the episodes to be most popular have been ones where we're interviewing the governor candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that our audience would appreciate being able to sit down and just talk about where we're at now after everything that we've experienced. So I think we'll do that soon enough. But we did also just have another episode with John Tig Tigan and his wife, Priscilla Tigan, and we're going to release that episode next week. So next week, we'll do a 2-parter on that. We'll release the first part on Tuesday, the second part on Thursday. And we had an incredible discussion.
That was great.
With John and Priscilla. It was in a very, very overall encompassing. It didn't have just a one topic limitation. We talked about a lot in the amount of time that we had. And to be able to sit down and talk with someone like him and him recount some of his life experiences and being involved in some very, very heavy military operations has been.
Well, I mean, the 13 hours of Benghazi's garnered world attention, obviously, and everything that transpired there. So for him to not only come in and talk about it, but do it authentically, and you could really see it in his heart, you could feel it, the emotion come out of him. Appreciated that. But yeah, we talked about a lot. We talked about spiritual warfare. We talked about both of them running for office. We talked a little bit about the gubernatorial campaign and the impacts on the downflow ticket and what that's going to look like. We talked faith, obviously, and then we got to hear Tig really recount, what happened from obviously he had his own perspective. Every guy there would have their own perspective because they're overlapping and then different roles, but then just really give the personal account of it and how much it meant to him. So that it was a long episode. So that's why it's going to be broken up into 2 parts. But it was great. I really enjoy them as people. They're just, he's kind of, what you see is what you get. And that little gal sitting over there she's just on fire for faith. I mean, every time I've been around her, that's the forefront of the conversation. But and she's very spirited too. She's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. So make sure to mark your calendars and make sure you have notifications turned on, whether you listen on Spotify, Apple, Podbean, or YouTube. Make sure you've got your notifications turned on for when those episodes get released. You don't want to miss those. That was an incredible conversation. Excited to share that with you. And today, we're just going to kind of dive into a couple different topics because a lot's going on in the world, a lot's going on right here in Colorado, and a lot of exciting things are coming up too. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves without announcing some of the stuff that's coming up right now in a couple days. This Saturday, August 15th, Gang Wars 3. Weather permitting, we're going to be moving the pit into the parking lot, and we're going to be doing the event outside, which will be a whole lot of fun. If we end up getting rained out, we'll just have it inside and do what we normally do, and we'll have to save the fun of going outside for another time and just do that again later. But hopefully, we'll see. I mean, it's Colorado. It could change today.
We get 320 sunny days a year here in Colorado, and dadgummit, I opened up my phone this morning and I looked at it, and it's the next 4 days is calling for rain. Now, percentage-wise, today and tomorrow looks fairly heavy. Saturday will fluctuate. But in all fairness, we see all 4 seasons here in one day.
That's true.
At least a dozen times a year. I was reading, somebody did a write-up on it. At least a dozen times a year in the Front Range, you'll see all 4 seasons in one day.
That's true. Only in Colorado.
Only in Colorado.
All right. Well, I've got a couple things saved to talk about on the scroll today. And let me get it pulled up here and projected onto the screen. And let's talk a little bit about this. All right. So, first of all, we were talking about this morning, and I think that it's important to have the discussion today because, unfortunately, this seems to be the direction that a lot of blue states are continuing to move in. Democratic governor signs Massachusetts bill that allows abortions up to birth.
Right in her face. Sorry. Just want to throat throttle this woman.
This is insane, man.
I'm
these
praying
people
for my
clapping.
enemies in the biggest way right now.
Oh, my word.
This is evil personified. What size is that lady? It's coming at you.
Oh, man. All right. Surrounded by applauding women, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey signs a sweeping abortion bill that removes the state's gestational age limit, giving healthcare providers, you mean murderers, greater discretion to perform abortions later in pregnancy. The law replaces the state's previous general restriction on abortions after 24 weeks with limited exceptions and is set to take effect in 90 days. Now listen to this. This is the worst part. Massachusetts becomes the 10th state to remove gestational age limits on abortion, according to this report.
Yep. We've gotten into double digits.
I mean,
double digits.
This is heartbreaking.
Oh, it's
to think of people rationalizing literally murder of babies, innocent babies that don't have a single chance because they're being led to the slaughterhouse whenever they go to a health care clinic, an abortion clinic.
What's crazy is it's all women. I read a post, I don't even know where, I just saw it popped up on a feed yesterday, and the guy said, not that it would make it better, ever, because it is what it is. He goes, but if it was a dude signing it with 20 dudes standing in the background, he goes, stop and process and let that take hold for a minute. And the women's movement, now I'm not even going to say feminist, but the women's movement will come out and go, you can't tell us to kill our baby. This is our baby. We want to protect. He said, imagine the reverse psychology if a bunch of dudes got together and were signing this into effect. And I stopped and paused. I thought about that. And I was like, that's actually brilliant. That's absolutely spot on exactly what would happen. The women would push back and go, no way. I'm protecting my baby. And instead, you got us, 2 dudes, sitting in here going, what are you doing? And you got women going, oh, I want to kill what's inside. It was just astonishing to me.
And it's just being pushed, and it's heartbreaking because it's being shoved down mainstream society's throat, left and right. This is your right. This is your body. This is your choice. You should be fighting for this right. You should have the ability to say what happens with your body, in your body. That's the narrative that keeps getting pushed, that they're trying to just make everybody believe. And I think that there's mothers out there that if it wasn't for this mainstream voice, this evil political nonsense that has been pushed, it's a pretty common just maternal instinct. No, I don't want to kill my baby. But because it's been just hammered on, I just think that there's people that have just become numb and have gotten to the point where they don't even think about it the way a normal person would think about it, because it's basic sense. You go and watch. I saw a video. In fact, you know what? I think I sent this video to my wife. Let me see if I can pull this up on the scroll here, because this right here should tell you a lot. Watch this. This is a dolphin, okay? A grieving dolphin mother carrying her dead calf for days. I'm sorry. Call me sentimental or whatever, but I saw this video and it immediately stopped me, because I was like, man, that kind of stuff hits me. It's just a natural instinct that mothers have to love their children. I remember whenever I had a litter of puppies for the first time. Believe it or not, it used to be a business that I had whenever I was younger, Mountainous Bullies. We had a litter of American Bulldogs. And whenever we had this litter, I said I will never do it again. You know why? 12 puppies.
Lost them.
11 were incredibly healthy, squealing, great dogs, incredibly beautiful, muscular coming out. They just look like little muscle balls, and they're all happy. The very last one, I believe it was the very last one to come out. Might have been the second to last one to come out. Stillborn. Dude, I can't do it. I was like, this is not for me. I don't know how veterinarians do it. I don't know how they can put dogs down. We just now put down the family dog for my wife earlier this week, and that's been our third time to the vet over the past probably 2 years to have to make that unfortunate decision of putting a dog down. I hate it. It's horrible. It's hard for me. I take loss I don't take loss well. I've learned that. But in this moment of having a litter of puppies, and there's a stillborn, there's 11 healthy puppies that are in the little tub that we have them in, and they're healthy, they're squealing, they're crying for their mom. And this one that comes out stillborn, I'm doing everything that I know to do. Rubbing it. I've got the squeeze bottle, trying to see if I can suck anything out of the throat, and I'm just trying to get it to wake up. All those 11 puppies squealing. The mom, Denali, my dog, who unfortunately has passed. She passed a couple of years ago, and she comes over, and she's just I'm standing up and I'm holding the dog. I'm doing everything I can. I mean, I'm praying, dude. I'm like, there's like already tears starting to leave my eyes, and I'm trying everything I can. I'm like, come on. And then Denali, the mom, she comes over, she leaves the puppies, and she jumps up, and she's looking at her puppy, and she looks up at me like, what are you doing? And then she looks back at her puppy, and I'm just doing everything that I can, and she's just these big eyes, just what's going on? So I give it to her. She gets to spend some time with it. She just tries to, do what a mother dog naturally does, just look in it, trying to get it to wake up. And then eventually I have to make that decision to take the puppy. And as I take the puppy and I'm taking it out to go and bury it, she's following me out like, what are you doing? What are you doing with my puppy? What are you doing? And she's leaving the 11 healthy puppies because of that one that she's, no, don't take my puppy.
Right.
I mean, this is a natural instinct that mothers have. But society, mainstream culture, politics, this lie, this evil narrative with abortion and it being healthcare, it's beaten the sense, it's beaten the instinct out of mothers, I think. Because I think that all women are built with, it's ingrained into them, that love of a mother. They're the only ones who are designed to be able to have children. And they're the only ones who are designed to know what it's like to actually carry life in your womb and then to deliver it and to care for it. And life to still be dependent on you even for the first couple years after it's delivered and born. Dude, I could talk about this a lot. I could talk about this all day. I have one more thing saved because this is, I think, something to talk about that will give a little bit of hope, but also will make people even more mad. So I'm going to have the boot cam ready for you again, okay? I've had this saved for a while, and I've wanted to talk about it, but there hasn't been a very good opportunity until now since we're talking about this. So here's this doctor. This is what he says. I did 1,200 abortions, first and second trimester. Listen to what he says. He says 1 was for rape, 2 were for incest, and he said 9 or 10 were for genetic effects, and all the rest of them, they were healthy moms and healthy kids. This is Anthony Lavatino, former abortion doctor. So he's sharing this story, really the hard, cold, true facts of everybody who tries to make these arguments about why abortion is necessary, why we need to fight for this right. What about people who are raped? What about incest? What about genetic effects or threats to the mother's life? You heard it right here from a former abortion doctor. 1,200 abortions. Just that alone is enough to take a second and mourn over. 1,200 lives, 1,200 babies that did not ever get to have their first birthday, didn't get to have their first Christmas, didn't get to grow up and ride a bike for the first time. 1,200 kids.
All in heaven, though. I've got to believe that God
100%.
cradles
I completely
them
believe.
and takes them home immediately.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And there's some people who don't. That's another conversation for another time. But 1,200 abortions, 1,200 murders. Man, we got to just start replacing that word abortion with murder.
Yeah,
I don't. The place that we've gotten to in this country. How can you get to the point where you justify the murder of millions as if it's nothing?
Yeah.
How many is it up to every year now? 800,000. Is that what we said?
It's just south of 700,000. Actually, I could pull up the totals on the CDC. They're the main reporting. It's in the tens of millions since 1973. I mean, it's an entire country essentially of people.
Estimated 1.1 million clinic
for America.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Estimated 1.1 million clinician provided abortions occurred in the United States in 2025. 1.13 million civilian provided murders of innocent babies.
I don't know where I sourced 600 or 700,000 then, but anyway, that's even worse. So, look, audience, sorry. So I have two things. One is going to be, I don't even know how to feel from a moral standpoint about this comment, but I said it in not tongue in cheek. I'm sorry, God, I may need forgiveness on this, but I was kind of half serious when I said it. I said, I think yesterday these people need to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
They need to lead by example. And if you're so into the fact that it's your body, your choice, why don't you just self-abort? And we don't have to worry about you people anymore. And it's a dark statement, and I get it, but I'm at a point where I look at this and I go, I want to say practice what you preach, because I don't think you should be taking up oxygen, because the byproduct of this is just horrendous. But I went back to that statement I just made that I believe God cradles them. I believe the second that their life is ended, their eternal life begins. And so that brought me from my comment of, you're so brave. You're so brave. Show the world. I bet you couldn't find 5 women in America to go do that. They just want control of a narrative, in my opinion. And the whole my body, my choice thing, and then COVID, and it doesn't apply there. It's all garbage. I'm so done with it. I've spent, so your story with your puppy, been there, not in the same vein, but been there. We've put, I don't even like the term put down. We had to say goodbye to 4 dogs, all buddies, all brothers, 2 labs, a healer and a basset, consecutively, one after another after another. Mm-hmm. And it was it's gut wrenching every single time, right? It just tears you apart. So I shared this previously in an episode a couple months back. My my wife has a client, and this isn't a confidentiality issue because I know the family. They introduced themselves to me. I've known them for a while. She's pregnant, full term, day before delivery, night before delivery. She wakes up at 2 a.m, and she doesn't feel the baby moving. They go to the hospital, and they said, yeah, we've lost the heartbeat. She's due to deliver in 6 hours. No, they don't know why. There's no reason. It happens. She carried that baby for 2 more days before they could deliver due to complications. And then she delivered a stillborn baby. And my wife got called, and the family said, Jana's been counseling with family, this young family. It's a young couple, by the way. So the third child. Been counseling with them for, I don't know, years. And Jana went down, and they sat in the hospital room. And Jana comes home, and she tells this story. And it was, so when a baby is stillborn, so that they can keep skin tone more natural and everything, they actually chill the baby. And so they had the baby was cooled, if you will, so that it holds skin color, so that the family can say goodbye over a period of 2, 3, 4 hours. That's about all you're going to get with your kid. And, Jana got to hold the baby for almost an hour.
Wow.
Look at me. It tears me up just thinking about it. And I go, I want everybody in that room to sit in that room and watch.
Yeah.
The anguish, And you're jumping up and down and cheering for joy, and I'm doing the boot camp. I'm like, oh, because I want to. I do. I want to. It's evil. I have no problem stopping evil. But this right here, when I see this tells me that the devil doesn't have a foothold right now. We've got an overtaking in this country,
stronghold,
and it is powerful, and it is in every nook and cranny now. It's not. Politically back in the day when I was growing up, it used to be left and right. Shoot, when I grew up, man, it was, here's how quick I'm going to transition from the heaviness of that. When I grew up as a kid, I grew up in Detroit. I moved there when I was 8, and I was there until I was 24. Dude, when I was like 15, 16, 17, 18, I remember distinctly, if you did not drive a Ford, Chevy, GM, or Dodge, some version of that, you were a traitor to America. Like a traitor to America. If you drove a Toyota, or at that time it was a Datsun, wasn't a Nissan. Shot. If you worked at one of those plants and you came rolling in a foreign car, that's like working at Coke and somebody comes walking in drinking a Pepsi. You're getting a beat down. We've come so far. We've come so far from, I call those the good old days. I call that Americana back in the day because we used to argue about silly, goofy stuff,
Yeah.
Who had the cooler Ford, Chevy, or Dodge,
Mm-hmm.
But now you got unlimited choices. You got everything, and it was like we can't wait to get rid of stuff fast enough to get to the next thing. We're watching it in urban sprawl here in Douglas County. Like let's have no more landscape and backdrop. I got a better idea. Let's build everything, right? And I'm for progress from the standpoint of I want to see the community taken care of and have options. But just to tear up the landscape for 30 miles so that we can have more stores, I don't need I know people are excited down here because they're going to get a Costco. Like, sweet, I don't have to drive 6 miles up north to go to Sam's Club. I can have a Costco. Okay, did you watch any of the FIFA stuff? And all the people coming from the other country standing in the meat aisle of the grocery stores going, oh my gosh. Like, look at the choices you guys have. And we just have so much. We don't. I just think I've hit 15 talking points in 2 minutes, but I just go back to, there were pioneers that traveled in wagons for 2,000 miles in a wagon against every adversity you could possibly have to put a shovel in the ground to say, here's my stake on this, and I'm going to go try to build something and hope I don't die of tuberculosis or cold weather. And you're building it from the ground up. You're sawing your own wood. You're hunting your own meat. You're fetching your own water every single day. And I got people that are going, oh, I don't like driving 4 miles north to go to Sam's Club. I'm going to go to Costco in my air-conditioned car with my coffee and my phone. And I just go, oh, my gosh, we've got so much that we lose. I think that's my point is we lose the value of life. We've gotten to the point. You said, how did we get here? I think it's because we've progressed to the point past progression. And now we're getting rid of stuff. We're getting rid of land to build more because we need more, and then we're going to get rid of that to do. And this is why I think people, for me, I like going to an island on a vacation and just sitting. And I'm not seeing a Costco, and I'm not saying nothing is Costco. I mean, I just don't. I'm not looking at the big box anything, and there's no hurry, and everything is there, and it's beauty, and it's magnificent, and it's not overtaken by anything other than God's creation.
Yeah,
and there's just something about it. And you get to breathe, and you get to be around people that are breathing, and you just go, and then you come into the last day, and you're like, and what's the thing? Everybody says, right? I got to go back. I got to go back to this thing that I've worked so hard to build. I think we've lost our way, man. I think we've lost our way, and this is such a sign of it right there. Bunch of women cheering death, so you can control your body. You can control your body. Have a baby. It's your body. Like, sorry, it stuff pisses me off. I just go, oh my gosh, the child. Oh, by the way, child coming out of you is separate from you. I don't know if if the irony is lost on them or not. I get it's inside your body because God gave you the ability to be the only thing that can create the child once man and woman come together. Which takes me to a different rabbit trail. But like, by the way, like when you give birth, that's no longer your that's your DNA. It's now it's their body. Now it's their life, their life to live, and you're killing them. All you're doing is committing murder so you can have convenience.
And by the way,
sorry,
they don't even know how to define what a woman is. They can't agree on that. And so how are they going to agree on what a baby is, let alone what life is? And that's honestly what I think. If it was not for the boundary probe first of abortion, I do not think that trans rights or trans narratives would be even close to where they are right now. Somewhere along the way, we couldn't even agree on life being life. And then now we can't agree on men and women being men and women. Now, I say we. I'm talking about the people on the side of sanity and the people on the side of insanity.
Yeah.
The people on the side of sanity, we know. And, the Bible predicted the times that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes 10:2, whenever it says that the heart of the wise inclines to the right.
Yeah.
But the heart of a fool to the left.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're seeing in real time. Problem is that the left has, to your point, not just gotten a foothold, but a stronghold on this country. And that's what we're fighting against. You and me were just now talking a little bit before we kicked the episode off about the gun rights in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about how there is now on this horribly unconstitutional bill that has been passed and has gone into effect as of August 1st, there is now an injunction that is either been served or being served.
Yeah, it's in process now.
In part by help from the NRA, from what I had read. And they're trying to stop this in its tracks because of how unconstitutional it is.
Yeah.
By far, without a doubt, I think that most people would agree, the most unconstitutional regulation on guns that this country has ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's trying to be stopped, and there's money, and there's people, and there's groups that are lobbying to fight for gun rights. And they should, absolutely. But who's going to do that for human life?
Yeah.
There's institutions out there, there's people doing good work, but why is there not over 1.1 million murders? Why is there not an outrage? Why is there not people that are protesting that? There's plenty of people that'll protest if a cop accidentally kills one person.
Sure.
I don't even have to name a person. People could just think of whoever they want to think of. There's plenty of people who will protest if there's white on black crime, if there's black on white crime, even though that's not really covered as much anymore in the news, it seems like.
Sophie Cunningham would tell you that.
What I'm trying to say is whenever somebody is murdered, it makes news. People will protest over it. People will riot over it. But we have 1 million plus babies being murdered. I have to believe that the women that are celebrating in this video, they're victims of drinking the Kool-Aid. That if they were to experience a moment like what you just explained with this couple that was carrying a baby to term, and your wife holds the baby doesn't make it, the tears, the emotion, you feel that, and you feel the heart of that mother. You can't even hear the story without feeling the heart of a mother losing her child. Somewhere along the way, these women that have the potential to be mothers, some of them probably are mothers, somewhere along the way, there was this narrative. People can call it what they want. You can be a realist, you can be a psychologist about it, however you want to. Say it's the mindset, say that it's the mob mentality. For me, I'm going to say that it's an evil spirit. That's what I believe that it is, that this is a spiritual warfare. We talked about it on the episode with Priscilla and with John, and that is truly what I do believe that it is. But to bring it from the spiritual to the actual physical and explain it in terms that even people who maybe don't believe so much in the spiritual and they just want to think about things in the literal, it's not too hard to understand that whenever there's a group of people that start screaming as loud as they possibly can, and then the group of people opposing them just is kind of like, oh, these people are crazy, just kind of give them their bone, let them do what they want to do, that these people now are going to start to infect, poison, and indoctrinate multitudes because we're letting them go unchecked.
Right.
We're letting their voice be the loudest voice. And somewhere along the way, that's exactly what's happened in this country, to where people who would stand on the way of the wise, where our heart leans toward the wise, leans toward the right, and that is wisdom. The people who are in the right, they just let these boundaries be probed and then line by line keep being crossed. It should have been so basic and fundamental to say, what? You want to do what? You want to call what healthcare? You want to call abortion murder of babies? What? That's what you want to do? Absolutely not. Are you insane? Have you lost your mind? Get out of here. We're going to impeach you. You have no place in politics. You have no place in government. You want to murder babies? Are you kidding me? It should have been that that's what happened. And that hasn't happened. Far from it. And now, we can't even have people that are like, you want to do what? You want to call what healthcare? Trans kids mutilating themselves? You want to call that healthcare? It should have been easy. Get out of here. You don't belong in government. You're not even sane. It should have been so easy. But boundary upon boundary continue to be not only probed but then crossed. Another gate, another barrier, another guardrail breached until we get to where we're at now, to where it seems like, man, how are we here? How are we at 1 million babies being murdered? And that's just the babies. That's just the abortions. That's not even talking about when they're outside of the womb. The world that still tries to eat these kids up. The world who still tries to convince these kids that it's okay, it's totally normal to just go ahead and have a surgery and just change yourself.
Suicides. Yeah.
All-time high. All these kinds of problems. And it's because of voices that have been amplified, have been screaming nonsense, insanity, lies. People need to start screaming the truth louder. We need to start fighting back, and we need to be able to do it on some of the most fundamental things. If people can rally behind and throw money in for gun rights, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be able to go back to where we correct the most important, most basic fundamental problems that we have. Human life is worth protecting. People want to argue about gun rights. Well, they're not killing 1 million people.
Right.
Not every year. Not here in America.
No, the number's very low, actually.
I don't know what the number is, but I'm going to look it up now.
Well, it's so you got to separate all this stuff out because people go to there's a lot of murders. Yeah, a lot of it's culture and gang stuff. If you actually go to say law enforcement statistics, I think it was like 1,000 people total out of 100 million calls for service in 24 in that one stat area alone. So it's just it's big, it's noisy, it gets a lot of attention.
44 to 48,000, and this just says gun-related deaths annually for 2024. This is from the CDC.
Yeah,
same reporting agency. That's it.
So it's similar to drunk driving and texting and driving and things like that. I mean, there's so many obvious things that we could go at in this. The injunction being put in, I personally think it'll win, and the reason I say it is because it's already been upheld. Of similar laws close to this one in other states got overturned by the Supreme Court. It was So I think this one will get overturned. The interesting thing about this conversation today is we've kind of jumped into different areas. They actually all overlap. So when I think of Charlie Kirk. So we're talking about telling the truth, simple, truth. Charlie stands up and he says, if you disagree with the truth or the facts, move to the front of the line and we can have a debate. And then he has a debate with people. That's what he's known for, right? He had self-taught, amazing, and he's revered so heavily. But name another human being on the planet that's captivated the world more in the last 10 months. There's not. Not Donald Trump, not nobody. I don't care what he's done, what he's not done. Charlie Kirk still leads the airwaves as far as the impact done to America, as far as relational and what he stood for. I think he'd have been the next president of the United States. I think when he turned 35, if he'd run for president, it would have been a landslide. And they knew it. And so they killed him for it. And he would stand against these things. He would talk about these things. You and I talk about them. I don't walk around looking over my shoulder. I don't worry about it because I know my salvation is secure. But, one day I'm going to be, we'll have a podcast during the day. I'll be doing mine tonight. And I'm sure at some point I'll say something and somebody's going to get fired up. Somebody's going to get fired up because I'm calling evil, right? It's not picking a fight. I don't need to come out and be derogatory. I don't need to name call. I'm just calling evil. And people just don't like it, man. They just don't like it. I watch what's happening in the WNBA with Sophie Cunningham. Just one example. And I sit back and I go, it's like we're building segregation silos all of a sudden, And it doesn't, to me, I don't even really care where you land on it as much as just, do you recognize there's a problem? like whether you land on the left or the right of it, that's fine. We can agree to disagree, but dadgummit, it's a problem. The thing with Charlie Kirk is unsolved. They mowed over the death scene 2 days later, and we got the prosecution saying, here's your guy, here's your blurry image. I was looking at this last night, and I'm thinking from a detective standpoint, a cop standpoint, if I pull up, and this is so true. I can't tell you how many times this has happened, but easily a dozen, if not more, maybe 2 dozen. Street cops back me up. How many times you've been called into a liquor store or a gas station for small theft, and they pull up the camera. You go in the back room, they pull up their camera, and you're looking at this image, and you're going, is that a dude or is that a girl? Are they black or are they white? I mean, like, we're talking grainy, crappy footage. And I don't know how many times I've looked at somebody who said, man, I got stolen from. And I go, well, I'm taking your report. And we're certainly going to timestamp it. We're going to take the video evidence that you got. But, dude, I can barely make out that that's a person. So I can't prosecute this. I can only, if we figure out who they are, only through an admission of guilt. And that's what the entire prosecution is hanging their hat on in Charlie Kirk's testimony, is that he said 11 different times, I killed Charlie Kirk. Without that confession, all this garbage that we're watching right now that's coming out from the prosecution, you wouldn't see any of it. You know why? Because it's not prosecutable. There's nothing so far that they've put out that is even remotely clear. And then yesterday, TMZ dropped a bomb. So you got the whole thing where they've got him in the parking garage wearing the hat and the burgundy red T-shirt thing and the socks. Mm-hmm. Well, TMZ found a different camera angle right around the corner where the same dude is carrying a skateboard. Wow. Walking down the sidewalk now. I mean, the prosecution's case is falling apart left and right, and they doubled down on this thing 8 minutes into it. So this is what's happening in the world. You got people like Charlie Kirk stepping up. We're stepping. I mean, other people are stepping up, and they're going, no, we're going to ask questions, and we're going to get in the face of this stuff because we have to, because the government's not going to do it. I mean, if you stop and think about what the government is saying right now on abortion, sit down and shut up. Full-term abortion. In the state of Massachusetts, I don't understand the auto pen governor power in that, to where you can say systematically, here's how we're doing it. Apparently that's law. And we all go, oh, we got to adhere to this. I look at it and go, you just signed murder. You have blood on your hands. Mm-hmm. So I can't trust the government there. Trump came in and said, Epstein files, JFK files, 2 genders, no boots on the ground anywhere. Well, none of that's true, so I can't trust him. Well, who can I trust? Well, I can trust Jared. I can trust Charlie Kirk. I think I can trust Baron Coleman. I think I can trust John Bray. I think I can trust these different people that are asking questions, going, look, we're not prosecuting anything. We're not defending anything. We're citizens going, a fellow citizen was executed, assassinated in front of the whole world. And we want to know what the heck is going on, because we're looking at a picture in a parking garage that at best, is 100% questionable. And you got to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. There's no way 12 people are going to sit there and go, I mean, the entire thing is a joke. So it takes people like you and me and others to go, what is going on?
Yeah.
What in the world are you thinking? We got to tell, sadly, I've got to be able to tell that story about my wife and her clients and sitting down, because that's the kind of stuff that when people hear it, they go, oh my gosh, not on my watch. No, I need to step up. And I pray politically, I pray here in Colorado, I pray for a good outcome.
Amen. Well, we'll continue to pray that. I got the boot cam ready for you again because this one's going to get you
I might go
pretty
right-footed.
upset again. Okay.
I might go right-footed.
A black man who stabbed a sleeping 6-year-old white boy to death has just walked out of prison as a free man after barely serving half of a 20-year sentence because he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. This man, Ronald Exantis, he's walked out of prison. The little boy's name was Logan Tipton. On December 7 of 2015, Exantis walked through an unlocked door of the Tipton family's home in Versailles, Kentucky. He went into 6-year-old Logan's bedroom and stabbed him to death in his own bed while he slept. Then he attacked Logan's father and 2 of his sisters. And here's where it gets insane. A jury didn't even convict this man of murder. They found him not guilty by reason of insanity for killing Logan, and only guilty but mentally ill for stabbing the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So the father, the 2 sisters, still guilty but mentally ill. For killing a child and stabbing 3 more people, he got 20 years, but now he's out in just about 10 years. And it gets worse. The parole board denied him 3 separate times. Every chance they got, they said, keep him locked up. But last October, the state let him out anyway. Nearly a decade early, through a loophole that classified a man who killed a 6-year-old as a non-violent offender.
Yeah.
You read that right. A non-violent murderer. Can you imagine this guy?
I'm trying to figure out where the loophole came from, how that's even a thing. I know how it's a thing, but I can. And
A free man, no parole, no probation. And his family says that they were barely even notified that their boy's killer was being released back into the free world.
Yeah.
This boy, Logan Tipton, he got 6 years to walk this earth.
Yeah.
The man who ended his life got just 10 years in prison, and now he's out. There's your boot camp moment, by the way.
I just want to. Yeah, I so many comments. Number one, I this is something I failed to do when George Brockler was here, and I want to bring him back on because I want to talk about the insanity plea. I genuinely do believe the guy's insane. I absolutely categorically believe you have to be insane, out of your mind, to go kill innocent people indiscriminately. You just can you kick in a door, walk in a door, whatever you do, you're insane. That's not a defense.
No.
You knowingly, willingly, and intentionally did it.
Yeah.
That is Colorado law. It's practically law in every state. You did it. I don't give 2 flippity-doos if you can't sit down and pass a litmus test on basic reading, writing, and arithmetic, because that's part of, by the way, that's part of it. That's how they gauge this, is your mental capacity, is your ability to discern. Yeah, and all these attorneys out here want to argue with me. I've sat in these courtrooms, so I'll fight you on the mat. I don't think there should be reason of insanity. So James Holmes, the Aurora Movie Theater massacre, went into his own apartment, booby-trapped it, rigged it. It took days. Days. I know the guys that walked through the door. I know the guys that overturned the bodies looking for booby traps. I know the cops that were on the scene, and I know medics that were there. And I played hockey with the chief of police, and I sat down and I watched him lose it on me. You people could say whatever you want. You're not on the other side of this. The evil that happens, that guy, categorically insane to go do it. Absolutely knew what he was doing. The definition of reason by insanity is I didn't know what I was doing. You ever put a puzzle together?
Oh yeah.
Figure out the edges.
Yeah.
Turn the pieces. Oh, this one goes here, right? The first thing you start with is the border, and then you work your way in. Full-blown autistic children put puzzles together all the time. That's part of an evaluation process. I've watched this repeatedly with a friend of mine whose son can barely communicate, can't construct a sentence. This kid is a puzzle wizard. I mean, if you put two puzzles down that are identical, him and me, he's going to crush me in speed every time. Does he know what he's doing? Can he think logically? Can he operate at a 10th grade level when he has a 2nd grade brain? No. He has cognitive issues, but he's also got adaptive abilities with that. If he went out and did something and had no idea what he was doing, I could look at that and go, he actually may not understand logically what may be happening. I've never heard of anybody with full-blown autism killing anybody, so I don't know, but I use it as an example because James Home, was smart, knew what he was doing, went to school, went to classes, passed. Everybody was afraid of him. Everybody reported him. Everybody reported him. His therapist reported. Everybody reported this guy. They did nothing. He booby traps the apartment, knowingly, willingly, intentionally, masterminds the entire thing, puts it together, goes in and executes people. And the first thing the defense attorney says is insane. Brock, the prosecutor of that case, by the way. I don't believe insanity is a reason to not have somebody held for the rest of their life or given the death sentence. There's a lot of insane people out there. The governor of Massachusetts she's full-blown insane for signing that law.
Oh, yeah.
She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly.
Good point.
And that is pure insanity.
Good point.
I do not buy that whole thing is as a made-up term. I don't know where it came from. I'll dig into it one day and I'll come out. But it is garbage, in my opinion. It is. I'm so tired of hearing, well, what if they plead insane? What? I know a lot of people, and a handful of them are insane. They know exactly what they're doing in life.
If you plead insanity, that should be more incriminating, in my opinion. That should
Because
just say,
you know.
That should just say, okay, this guy's definitely a threat to society. If somebody says this person is insane and that insanity has driven them to violence, that's a person who needs to be probably punished even more than someone who maybe even knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because he's probably more of a threat. That should just be common sense.
It is common sense.
Insanity,
Except unless you're a defense attorney that's getting paid.
Insanity is a threat. To your point about the autism, and if there was somebody who was truly unknowing, right? Because you said knowingly, intentionally, and willingly. Well, if there was someone who was unknowing and they didn't know what they were doing, and that was truly the case, you still don't let that person go and walk the free world again.
No, you get them
You
help.
still put them in a care facility that's going to keep them safe and keep other people around them safe. But somebody who went into somebody else's house and killed a 6-year-old and then stabbed 3 other people, getting to walk free, that is unbelievable.
And you know what makes it even worse for me is the fact that people argue for it. So you argued that he shouldn't be held because of this reason over here, and now you're releasing him because what? Did he become sane in prison? I mean, you said it was a loophole.
That's what the post said.
But when you go before a board, when you sit before a board, I've only watched one of these, by the way. I've got, when I say zero experience, I mean I've literally one time I went in on a guy that came up for a portion of an early release on a charge that I had made that the prosecution got. And this guy is 30-some years, and they were going to knock like 5 years off. And they called me and they said, "Do you want to come down and testify?" I said, "I'll be the first guy in the courtroom." Yeah, you bet I do. The violence of that crime is a lot like what you just described here, except for it didn't involve a murder, but it was heinous and I'm not going to go into it because it's dark. But I will tell you, I sat in there, and so he sits over here, he's to my right, and they're asking me questions. And I felt like I was getting the 3rd degree. I'm like, how dare you come in here and testify again. You know, here we're the parole board. We know what we're doing. Dude, all I had to do was trigger that guy. All I had to do was trigger him emotionally, and he charged me.
Wow.
Yeah. That ended that little debate right there. And then I said, all of you need to quit or should be fired. You guys are idiots. And that's my only experience. That's the only one I've got.
Oh,
and that
man.
was circa 1998, Richland County, South Carolina. Yep. It's the only time I've ever had that experience. So I really can barely speak to any part of it, but I knew when I saw the scene, when I walked into the scene, and not only was I the arresting officer, I got into a foot chase with the guy, got into a fight with the guy. And I won't say that I fought for my life, but I can tell you he would have taken my life if I didn't know what I was doing. So it wasn't like I was fighting because I was going to die, but I absolutely had to take full control of that situation. Very, very direct, or he would have gotten away.
Yeah.
And once you see the pictures of the scene, oh, dude. Yeah. So people should know.
Yeah.
And they tried it with that guy. They tried that whole insanity thing with that guy.
Oh,
dude.
Well,
this is
moving
our
on.
world, man. This is our world. I hate to say it, but it is. And it's everywhere. And we look, I'm not going to go far with this, but we live, I'm going to go back to my analogy of we're building to make, tearing down God's creation to make more. We have succumbed to going so fast and wanting so much that we go right past stories like this, and they don't mean anything. They don't. The views that get the most are funny, goofy, or shocking for the most part. And you get into a serious, people they don't want to stomach it. They don't want to think about it. They go, oh, that's tragic. And I feel bad for the family. And I'll say a prayer for them. And then they walk away when they read that story. And they'll never think about that family from Kentucky again.
Man.
But they'll think about getting their coffee. They'll think about their phone. They'll think about their car. We've gotten into this. And look, I enjoy life. There's things I want to do. I've got a business phone. I got a work phone. I work off of this stuff, but I use it for good. I don't just sit here and skip past that stuff. I'm starting a podcast to talk about this. So Nancy Von Minden started this whole thing with me. And I'd heard it before Nancy, but Nancy actually was the one that agreed into my mind is to say nothing is to do nothing. And I was like, man, when she first said it, I don't know why that hit me so hard. And I can't be a warrior for everything. I can't be a fighter for everything, but I can be a truth seeker. I can love and I can call out evil. And I thought at a bare minimum, if I do nothing for the remainder of my life, I'm going to stand in the face of evil and I'm going to try to love people through everything the best I can right up until you got to stop. Because I think that's where we're headed. I don't think it's GM, Ford, Dodge anymore. I don't think it's the good old days of racing sticks down a creek that had different paint colors on them as a little boy. We are in a divided world, a divided nation. We're being conquered right now by Islam and Hindu. It's coming in at record paces. It's overtaking our cities. It's overtaking our offices. I don't remember the number of how many people that were of Islam that were just voted in across the nation at various offices, but it was a notable number.
Yeah,
they are coming. We are just sitting back going, I'm going to buy my 6-pound jar of mayonnaise over at Costco. It's like,
speaking of which, you just now brought both of the things in that we're talking about, Islam and groceries. Because I don't know if you saw this or not, but Mayor Mandami, this guy, however you say his name, you know that they've announced 5 city-run grocery stores. Did you know this?
Yeah, that's the free.
And they'll be 30% below retail prices. 5 city-run, so 5 Islam-run. 5.
Yeah, but I thought it was supposed to be free.
It says prices will be set at 30% retail, but here's the high level details that we should be taking note of. You want to know something?
Let's go.
You want to go in to use this grossary store, and you want to take advantage of the city-run grocery store.
Do you need an ID?
You need an ID.
Oh, come on!
Can you believe that?
No way.
They're Isn't that racist?
I just guessed at that.
That is unbelievably racist, isn't it? That they would require ID to buy groceries at these city-run grocery stores.
Didn't know it was a thing.
Unbelievable. But in all seriousness, a city-run grocery store should kind of terrify people. I mean, just think about it. Think about the argument about food stamps and people relying on the government for their food. This takes that to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
the government feeding people, the government now trying to beat retail prices from even what is mostly owned by Kroger anyways, mostly owned by corporate empires. Now they want to offer 30% below retail to get more and more people dependent upon these prices where they can't make it unless they're dependent upon the city run and own grocery store that you have to show an ID for. And this is just showing this is where we're at, because there's going to be increasing. They're doing everything that they can to build this infrastructure of dependency. And now we've got the people who have radical Sharia law, Islam mentality. Islam is not just a religion; it is a law.
Oh, it is.
That's what people need to understand. It is a rule of law, and people are not computing this. There are people voting these people into office, and
well, it's because they like free stuff.
we're being infiltrated.
So you got to have an ID to go shop at the city-run thing that we're going to give you to keep you dependent. It's not, by the way, it's not. I will say it's not dependency. I think it's called slavery. It's just that instead of a chain, it's an electronic leash connected to your phone and to your little card that you're going to have going into these things. That's funny with that, I guess, ID. I didn't realize that that's where you're going with
I
that.
heard somebody talking about how Islamists and people that are at the top of Islam, people who are trying to head up the infiltration and get Islam to spread all over the country, all over the world, really, but especially all over the country. And if you're not keeping up with just how fast and quickly they're spreading, go look at Europe, go look at UK. Britain pretty much doesn't really truly exist anymore with how much it's been overtaken by Islamists. It should be truly a wake-up call for America to understand what's happening in real time. But I've heard it said that they love leftists. They love the left.
Well, sure, they're fighting.
That is how they have been successful in taking over blue states. You want to know why? I've heard it, and I heard it said by somebody that they are perfectly okay, not okay, but they want more and more leftists to win because they know that they're dumb. They know that they're foolish.
Yeah.
They know that they are insane. And they know how easy it will be to replace them with Islamists. And that's what's happening in real time. They have an all-out war on the right because the right are smart and they'll be able to resist the plan, but the left, they can't. And the people who follow the left will be influenced and be like sheep. And to them, they just think that they're nothing. They're nobody. We'll be able to fool everybody. We'll be able to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. And that's what they're doing in real time. And we should be very concerned. We should be taking note of this and figuring out how we can combat this with charters, with laws that we put into effect as quickly as we can in our local towns, our local ordinances, to prevent this infiltration of Sharia law. Because it's not only coming, it's here. It's in the U.S. It's on our soil. And it, to your point of how many seats were flipped or how many people won elections that are Islamists, it's an alarming rate of people winning and taking office in this country right now. And we need to figure this out.
I'm going to suck the wind so far out of your sails that you might come over here and put me into a hold or something.
Well, they've never seen that on our show, so let's do it.
All right. It ain't going to happen. There's nothing to figure out, Jared.
No charters, nothing.
There's nothing.
You're telling me that there's no hope. Come on, you can't tell the listeners that. We got to figure something out.
No, there's hope. There's hope in salvation, and there's hope in. Look, I'm going to go back to Scripture, and I'm not. This isn't to Bible thump people. This is just kind of common sense. We've talked about it 19 different times today, in 19 different ways. A baby, you kill it. It's like what, right? Like what? We just signed it into law to for the 10th state. You're not going to reverse that. We're going to have 12 states and then 18 and then 20. And by the way, just so you know, and you feel free to look this up. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but 30-ish% of Republicans vote are pro-abortion in Congress, by the way, just so you know. So when people say this is a Democratic issue, it's not a Democratic issue. It's a culture problem. I continue to say it's a culture problem. I'm going to keep saying it until somebody gets on board with me, and maybe it'd be me and 3 other guys in a canoe rowing upstream. I don't care. It's a culture problem. But, yeah, I think it's like 35% of Congress is pro-abortion on the Republican side. I mean, the number may even be higher than that. So it's not – we're not going there. We're not doing charters. We're not doing it's not happening. It's going to end when it's in a box. It's going to end when people wake up and decide – the only avenue left and we're going to be forced into it. I mean, it's coming, but the sad part is, look, I got a lot of dudes that I'm friends with for many years that said not on my watch. That's great that you got your, and I'm not bashing 2A stuff at all. Don't hear me say that. I instruct, I teach, I carry, protect my family, protect others in the moment. But these guys that have been running around, if you go back 30 years ago, these would be true statements, Jared, in America. I've said it on this podcast several times. You cannot attack America from the outside. Nobody's coming here and infiltrating our defenses around the outside. Not from a military standpoint. But when you can walk across the border, and one guy goes, "Hey, you want to go over to do my best Hispanic? You want to go over to Brownsville tonight? Let's go have a beer in Brownsville, and then we'll walk back over to the border, you and me." Like, are you crazy? I don't want to go over there. We'll get arrested, man. And then they go over and they have a beer, and they're like, "Oh, hey, boss, that was awesome. Let's come over next weekend." And then there's 5. And then there's 5 more, right? That's funny. It's a bunch of dudes walking over a border having a beer. Nobody thinks anything about it until 10 million people come across in saturated country, and then another 10 million come across in saturated country, and intertwined in that are thousands of prayer rugs. And then all of a sudden you look around at who's winning elections, and the guys 20 years ago that were going, "Not on my watch. I got my thing." Well, first of all, you're not going to go around shooting random people. So that's not happening. If you're prepping for a wartime maneuver, well, it's here. It's here. I mean, we're here. We're in the middle of it. We just don't think we're in the middle of it. Because you can get in your car, you can turn on your favorite Spotify station, you can drive down the road and get your coffee and do your thing. And we're all just going. And we got 5,000 streaming channels to pick from and 4 million podcasts to pick from. And we're one of them. And life is going on, and I'm going to go to work, and I'm doing my thing. And in the meantime, you got a bunch of guys that are operating in a third world country, speaking various dialects of Arabic, fighting each other for centuries, all reading out of the same book. And they went, why don't we just go over to another country and just take it over? See how it goes. Well, they did. And it started in the East, and they overtook it. And then it just kept coming across the globe. And now it's in the West, and they're overtaking it. And nobody thinks this is happening, except for a handful of people that are paying attention, because everybody else is just going on about their business. So it's a great premise to say we're going to go fight, and it's great to start movements and charters and Christian schools and all. Like I'll advocate for it all day long. Do I think it's going to make a difference? I don't think as far as you could spit against a hurricane wind is it going to change anything, because you have too many naive, dumb, ignorant people not willing to step up and understand. You got to spend 5 minutes a day educating yourself in the Bible. You got to spend 5 minutes a day educating yourself in what's going on. And then you got to put a battle plan together to get your neighbors together. And I can tell you right now, I've spoken off in front of crowds where I have them raise their hand, and I throw this one question out. Everybody over the age of 40, now I'm doing it over 50. Everybody raise your hand if you remember your phone number from when you were 7 or 8 years old. And everybody in the room raises their hand over the age of 50. Everybody remember their address? Yeah. Everybody remember the name of your neighbors? Yeah. You remember their phone numbers? Yeah. And then I ask one, what I think is a semi-compelling question. Okay, modern times, circa 2026, everybody in the room, raise your hand if you know the first and last name of your neighbors 3 houses down from you. And I'll get 2% of the room to raise their hand. That's our problem.
Yeah.
Nobody is invested into being invested anymore, except for in them. Them.
Yeah.
I said it's going to be the downfall of mankind. I stand on it. If nothing else, would be the medium to it. I'll stand on it. And when I'm dead and gone, I hope somebody replays this video over and over and over of me holding up the phone saying, "It's not that I told you so. It's predictable."
Well, here's my problem, Micah. I know a lot of my neighbors. Some of my neighbors are gay Chinamen. Don't have a lot in common with them.
But you're an anomaly, though, if you know.
I do know them.
But you're an
I've
anomaly.
been in their house. I didn't realize what was what till I got in there. They're like, "Hey, we want to talk to you about the fence between our house." And I went in and he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's my husband." I'm like, "What? What?" Oh,
so
okay.
There is a fence going up.
I was like, "Okay. I guess, hey, we're neighbors. You guys are gay.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Like Flintstones gay, like happy gay,
I don't even
or
know.
straight up gay. Like two dudes living together?
Straight up gay.
Okay.
I mean, they are
Not a gay old time. We're
two
the
gay
Flintstones.
Chinese
Meet
guys.
the Flintstones.
I don't know much about them.
All
but
right.
I know that.
But you know your neighbors.
I know them. I know the people next to me, and
Do you know the people 3 houses down?
Yeah, I know the people a couple houses
Do you?
down.
That's
Yeah,
good. That's
yeah.
good. Because see, that's rare.
do.
That's actually rare.
Yeah.
But you're very social.
I mean, I'm also on my 3rd house in Crystal Valley, so I mean, I know a lot of people who live in the neighborhood. Period, and we have businesses that serve the neighborhood, so I know a lot of people here. Period.
I bet you know the town council guy on the speed limit thing.
But the point being, it really. I do. Apparently, that guy told me. Apparently, that guy called me a wimp or something. I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
I'm sorry. This has been such a good episode. We're all over. This has been so much fun.
Anyways, I'm bringing that up for a reason. Okay, I don't have any malice toward my neighbors. I just have an opinion on there being a right way for society to look, to run, to operate, in a wrong way, and I do think that these kinds of things and these conversations matter about, okay, if you've decided to have a certain sexual orientation or preference, that affects society, everybody who sees you, kids who see you. What happens whenever they see that? Well, a lot of kids that are raised knowing that, okay, there's an order and a design for things, for there to be a man and a woman, and they're supposed to be married, and that's the way that life is created, that they see 2 dudes or 2 women together, and they're confused. They're conflicted, and it feels weird. And they're like, I mean, I told the story of my nephew getting on an elevator with a trans person. It was a trans dude. And he looks up at him, and he's just like quivering. He's like, I'm freaking out right now. He says like a baby, I'm freaking out right now. And it's like the kids just pick up on this stuff. Yeah. That's the reason I bring this up, is that there's, even in a relatively still red conservative town, which is Castle Rock, and in what used to be a mostly conservative neighborhood, there's a lot of people in Crystal Valley that don't like me, don't like Crystal, don't like the coffee shop, don't like the jiu-jitsu gym. They don't like Christianity. They don't like conservative people. They don't like Republicans. They don't like people who stand on those values. They're opposite of them. There's lots of people. There's an entire LGBTQ plus. Yes, with the plus, because there's a difference. The LGBT and then the LGBTQ plus. Did you know that? There's like a war inside of there, apparently, of people who are like, no, keep gay people normal. It's like, you're not normal, but I get what you're saying. And then they're like, no, we're not a part of this, the T and the plus. And they're like, no, they're like, yeah. Anyways, there's a whole community of people that are completely polar opposite, opposed to, that are really blue-pilled even in this community in Castle Rock. My heart still goes out to those people. I'd like to sit down and have conversations with those people, not screaming at each other, but just, hey, this is why I believe what I believe. Why are you at where you're at? I have love for these people. I have compassion for these people. I want to see everybody reached with the truth. I want to see everybody affected by it, and they can choose it for themselves. A lot of them have already chosen what they've chosen. Some of them have already known the truth, and they've walked away from it. Does that mean that they're beyond being able to be reached or helped? I believe that God can reach anybody anywhere. I think that there's a Bible full of people that were imperfect, who were sinning, and God still had a way of, even though it took time, even though it took multiple attempts to eventually catch up to people. I think of Jonah. I think about all that he had to go through to finally get back on track. I think that there's people like that all around Colorado, where darkness is plaguing this state, but it's our opportunity to be light. That's what we've got to be. And so I say that to say there's going to be an ending post here that I'm going to read, but I want to bring it back to Charlie Kirk for just a second.
Okay.
Because you mentioned him. You talked about the case falling apart. You talked about all this, that, and the other. Now I'm going to play a video. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this video, because this is one of the videos that I saw that made me truly start to think, okay, if this guy is actually telling the truth, man, who knows who's just been killed?
This guy, when you say this guy, who?
This guy is a former CIA operative.
Okay, before hang on, real quick, before you play it, I want to make one statement. Do you think, process this just for half a second, what's worse, having one innocent man in jail for something he absolutely didn't do, or 100 guilty men walking free? Because for me, I'd rather have 100% certainty that those guys are guilty to put him into jail than to take a man who's done nothing and stick him in there when there was never evidence to prove it. And now he's sitting in there for God knows how long, and he did nothing wrong. And I'm not talking about Tyler Robinson, by the way.
Okay.
I'm just saying in general. I'm making a statement.
Yeah.
I would rather have 100 guys that we couldn't. Man, we were 80% in there, but we couldn't pull all of it together. I'd rather have them keep until we can catch them, because one day we will, than to have that one guy pay the ultimate price of being confined into a 10 by 12 cell for something he's never done.
Huh.
That's me.
I think I have to think about that a little bit. And you told me, think about it for half a second. It's been more than half a second. But I do think that there is still a strong premise behind a system that's built on innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if that proof isn't there, then
you should go
be treating somebody who's guilty.
Yeah, then they should go. But I'm talking about when there's not.
Uh-huh.
And I've had 4 or 5 of these where I went in as the prosecuting officer in the case, and I said, I'm 90% there, but I'm not 100, so I'm not going to testify against this guy. That would have been on my conscience.
Yeah.
It's just something to think about. I think the world should think about that.
Yeah. Well, I want to take potentially a different spin on Charlie, given the discussion today. But I want to play this video because I think that this video will get a lot of people thinking about what truly could have happened. If what this guy says is actually true, then, man, the possibilities of who has been killed over the years by way of there being a call or a list, a card, a note, or something being passed down from government, this should truly be alarming. Watch this video of this former CIA spy.
Are hitmen real? Yes. At the National Security Council, there is a committee that meets every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock to draw up something called the kill list. They sit around a table and they make a list of all the people that they want to kill that week. And then they take it back to the CIA, which has a dedicated unit. I won't tell you the name, but it has a dedicated unit that takes receipt of the list. They say, okay, number 1. They drive to the airport, they get on the plane, they go out to that country, they kill the person, they come back, and then they go to number 2 on the list. That happens every single week. Now, we can have a conversation about whether that's right or whether it's wrong. It's certainly immoral. It's illegal, but it's been tasked by the president. At the same time, they will tell you there hasn't been another 9/11, has there? Maybe it's because we're out there killing people.
What kind of people would be on that list?
So,
I
mean, whenever I watched that really started to get me thinking, like, okay, if what this guy's saying is true, and I mean, I don't know anything about this guy. All I know is that it was posted by a pretty big page, and it's got the tag on there that says former CIA spy. He sounded pretty intelligible and pretty confident in what he was talking about. He says, every Tuesday at 9 a.m., there's these dudes drinking coffee. Here's the people we need to kill. And then they send it to the CIA. They go take care of the list. If that is true, dude, imagine how many people have just, yep, he's got to go. He's got to go. I say that to say, I do think that a lot of people are wise to this narrative with Tyler Robinson. Probably didn't happen. Probably a bigger picture here. Was it the CIA? Was it an order from our own government? Was it perhaps influenced by an outside nation? I don't know. A lot of speculation there. But the reason that I said I wanted to play this video and then take a different spin is because, okay, if we now know that it could be the CIA, well, it could be the CIA. It could also be someone else other than the CIA. Because now we just at least broke the ground of, okay, it's starting to seem a lot more feasible that it wasn't just this lone gunman narrative. And I think people have been there for a while. This, to me, is just like, that kind of shatters kind of reality as the government has passed it down to us on the citizen side of things. Oh, just believe this is what we do. Don't worry about what we actually do. This is the narrative that we're going to give you versus we actually have a group of dudes meeting every Tuesday to talk about who's going to die. I mean, that's insane. But the spin that I'm really wanting to take is this. Mayor Mamdani, I think, was the first really mainstream election. And he got into, he, I think, was appointed or took office for the first time, I think, in January of 2026. Charlie had some things to say about Islam, and like we already said earlier in this episode, Islam, they love people on the left getting into office, people on the left having the loudest voices. They are majorly threatened by intelligent people on the right. So I don't think it's too far removed to, I don't know if anybody has. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I don't think it's too far removed to think, what about looking at potential extremist Islamic ties that could have potentially been an influence? I mean, you said it. Just in this year alone, how many people have been or are projected to be winners of whatever the race may be that they're running, whatever elections it is that they're running for? There is so many more Islamists that have gotten into office and are continuing to get into office. And think about the influence that someone like Charlie Kirk would have had to actually speak intelligibly into doing something to stop this infiltration of Islam into America. I mean, it's something to think about. I just don't know that I've heard anybody really give it any much thought. And as we've been sitting here having this conversation, I can't help but think, man, if there was somebody, because we're talking about what are we going to do? And you're just saying, oh, probably not much to do. You know, I think about Charlie. I think about, man, he probably could have had a lot of momentum, a lot of wind in his sails to be able to make some traction on getting information out there and helping people know how they can get involved in fighting against this radical Islam taking over American politics.
He's a conduit. I'll do it from my podcast. I just don't think anybody's going to take hold. I mean, I think Charlie Kirk was one of the brightest minds ever walked this planet. Certainly in my lifetime. I don't think anybody I've ever looked at that could do what he did. And I said it in here a month after his demise. I said, Turning Point USA is dead. It'll be at a bare minimum. It'll be a shell of what it was at best. I sat right here and said it in this chair, and I remember the look on your face when I said it. I mean, this is at the time when they were like, "Oh, we're going to start chapters. We're going to do all this," and I'm like, "No, you're not." And there was no conspiracy theory at the time. There was none of this stuff going on. None of the gun, the DNA, none of it. This was just me going, "No, you're not." And the reason you're not is because there's one Charlie Kirk. And that has been proven repeatedly. By the way, have you watched an episode of the Charlie Kirk podcast?
Yes.
What do you think?
Are you talking about pre or post Charlie?
Oh no, I'm talking post. Both.
Yeah, I've watched both. It's definitely far removed from what it was.
Dude, it's 178.5 degrees the opposite.
Yeah.
They are doing nothing but babbling and rambling on. They're stuck in the Candisphere, as I'm calling it now. The stratosphere of the world of Candace. She's in their heads. Frank Turek sounds like a blithering buffoon every time he opens his mouth. He's changed his story more time than never mind, I won't even use the analogy. It's a train wreck. And Erica, I don't care how anybody feels about Erica from the standpoint. I look at it and I'm like, until the case is proven that this guy is innocent and he's not the guy. And the people that are saying, here's how this really happened and here's who's behind it and they're connected. To me, she's still a grieving widow. She's still a mother. At the end of the day, do I like how things are going? No. Do I question it? You better believe I do. Are my spidey senses going off? Everywhere. But until that proof is, that's why I just said, is it better to convict one innocent man or have 100 quasi-guilty guys go free because you don't have enough evidence to put them? I don't have a problem answering that question. I want conviction. I want it be well beyond a reasonable doubt that this guy did it. We're taking his freedom. Your freedom is the one thing outside of your salvation that you have. That's the single most important thing to you outside of breath. You've got eternal salvation and the ability to walk freely in this country. And if somebody comes up and they take that freedom away from you, they darn sure better have a good reason to do so. And I've seen both sides of the system. I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. Mostly the good, but there's enough bad out there. Now, you played this clip. Is it something to think about? I'm thinking about all of it. I'm thinking about every angle there is. So if you're asking me, absolutely, I'm going to think about it. But is the average person out there? I don't know. Is this guy onto something, or is he telling the truth because he has back channel stuff? Well, I mean, he's putting a big claim out there at great risk for himself, number one, if he knows this to be true, and then you're going to come out in public, media and say it. That's a little dangerous. But I can say I personally have a friend, long since retired, military, and to keep it as vague as possible, he had a job in the military that was not overseas, not in combat, not doing something. It was on the home front, and it was on the medical front. That was his degree. He also would disappear for 2 weeks at a time and come back and look like he hadn't shaved in 2 weeks. And he would come back from foreign countries. The only guy I know on the planet, my buddy. Now, I know guys that he knows, and I've met them, and I know what they did. They all did the same thing he did. Now, I don't know them personally. I mean, I've met them. They don't talk about it. The only reason he talked about it was because of a trust factor with me and because our families were close. Our wives were close. And his wife, my bride, was her go-to if there was going to be a problem. So, yeah, this stuff happens. Of course it happens. And that was on the military side. That's not the CIA side. So there's a reason a lot of military dudes go see. I mean, that's what Tig did. Yeah. Right? Now, he's a contractor. So, I mean, he said, I'm a grunt. I'm nothing special. But, yeah, this is what we did. I mean, I know a handful of GRS guys. I mean, we got one right here in Castle Rock. That have been overseas, done all that stuff. So, yeah, but that's a different deal. So, I mean, when I was getting ready to go to Blackwater, I pulled out at the last second because of the stuff they were going to put into my body and where I was going to go. There's a lot of guys that work Blackwater and triple canopy and, after serving in whatever capacity. I was in the middle of service at that time. I was in law enforcement. I was a tactical guy and a medic guy, so they wanted both. And that was a big recruit back in the day in the mid-90s, 97, 98. Time frame. They were pursuing me and a handful of other guys super hard to go to a nation I can't say. And you signed your life away, and they are not coming to get you, dude. He said it, right? We had to buy our own plane ticket home, right? That's not a joke. I'm not repeating it because he said it, but like I've heard stories like that where guys have gotten over there. They're disavowed. Like we don't know who that is. Yeah, you're signing your life away to go do this stuff. So. And you're under contract, and these are mission specific. So this was a little bit different with him because he's they're doing dignitaries and whatnot. But yeah, when you're going in and doing it, sure, this stuff happens. Of course, it happens. So I don't think it's a stretch to find out now whether they have meetings every Tuesday. I don't know. I can buy that. We'd have meetings in the sheriff's office at least once a week where we'd sit down as command staff and say, what are we looking at? What are we dealing with? What warrants do we have? Who's our most wanted that we need to go get? And I don't mean. You're not executing. That's a very different deal. But, I mean, I wouldn't think it's a stretch to take a leap that the CIA that doesn't operate here, they operate on foreign soil. That's the whole point of the CIA, is they're going over there and taking care of business. Of course. What else are they doing? We don't know. That's the whole point of the CIA. I mean, there's movies about it, but at the end of the day, I mean, the only reason you find stuff like this is because somebody's willing to leak. When a Rob O'Neill, the guy who was part of SEAL Team 6, shot bin Laden, the reason he's come out and he's fighting against this stuff was because of Tim Kennedy. He got tired of the Tim Kennedys of the world. And I loved Tim Kennedy back in the day. I was like, man, this guy's a stud. This guy's a fighter in the UFC. These guys multiple operations overseas. Like I'm looking at him, and all of his grandiose stories started falling apart because of guys like Rob O'Neill coming out and going, wait a second, time out. We were there. That's not what happened. And Tim ended up coming out and saying, I lied. I mean, here's 10% of the truth that actually happened. Here's the 90% I made up to make me look good. And it's on podcast after podcast. Yeah. His own admission. This is why I had great pause with Victor partway into it. It's not because I didn't like him. It's not because I didn't want to. It's because it was so big. You go, well, wait a second. I've done some things in life. I've never even heard of this. Now, maybe he has. I mean, maybe the whole thing. I've said this repeatedly. Maybe the whole thing has. And when he changed I said it yesterday. When he changed the cat story, I said, I'll buy that. And I'll own it. I'll say it right wherever the camera. I'll say it to you now, Victor. I will believe. I didn't believe when you said it 15 times in a row that you did it. You were forced to do it. My dad made me, okay, well, it's very different at that point in time. So when the story changed and it became believable, I go, okay, I'll accept that. I'm a grown man. I'm not here to prove you wrong. I logistically, I didn't believe it. I don't believe you have the dexterity to do that as a 3-year-old. But the fact that you have that memory, I have memories of early childhood of bad things that happened. Nobody gets to tell me those bad things didn't affect me. But when you're telling magnificent stories, it's very different. When you're putting it out there for the whole world, and that's your whole persona, and somebody comes back and questions it, and you're going, how dare you question me? And then everybody gets on your bandwagon. I'm sorry. No, actually, I'm not sorry. What I'm going to say is you own that. You created that. That's why I asked those guys yesterday, do you think he helped perpetuate some of this? And I think it's because of stuff like this. I think people know we want to live our lives, but I think we know there's a lot of dark shadow stuff out there, Jared. I think there's a lot of bad things out there. And your angle of the Muslim deal is just as probable as anything else.
That's just a matter of, like you said, and like we talked about, we need proof, we need evidence, we need to go after people or a group of people, whatever it may be, that we can actually find something substantial and be able to show it and say, see how this is pretty undeniable, that this is what happened. Problem is there's obviously a lot of people out there with a lot of money, a lot of influence that are doing a lot to cover things up. I mean, the amount of stuff that's not even released, no autopsy, all kind of stuff like that.
Dude.
But what I will say, too, just because you brought it up a little bit with the Victor thing, on that specifically, I think from the beginning, pretty early on with the cat thing, cutting the cat's head off at 3, I was saying, well, hey, I mean, I think that probably his dad helped him do it. I don't think that he did it by himself. I'm saying that from just experience of working with kids from a young age, like if you're going to help a kid do something, you usually have to like
show them.
I mean, especially when it comes to like teaching jiu-jitsu, you got to help them. And
right.
So I'm thinking, okay, if you're an adult and you're trying to torment a kid, it kind of just was the first thing that went to my head. I didn't think of, man, a 3-year-old did this by himself. I immediately thought of, well, no, somebody wanting to torture this kid would have done what you do to try to get a 3-year-old to do anything, and you do it with them and for them.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I said it though. If you go back, I don't remember which. I don't remember if it was Sean Ryan or one of them. He said, "My dad gave me the knife." He said it. My dad gave me the knife, and I went, and then I cut the cat's head off, and I went, what is that? And I don't want to get lost in this, but it was just it's semantics only, and as you received it one way, I received it in another.
Yeah.
I was looking at it kind of through the detective cop lens, like, wait a second, if I was on scene and somebody was telling me, this just happened, I'd be
like,
wow,
totally makes sense.
Is this believable? And I think that's where people got lost. And
totally agree.
I think he's come out, he shared a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to make any more of this about Victor. I want him to win for the Republican Party. I said I will support. I'm not endorsing. I'm supporting him. I will sit back and say, Victor, go get him. But I'm still going to question your stuff. There's still things sitting out there that I'm going to sit down and go, I'm going to put a podcast together on it, and I'm going to talk about it.
Good.
Because I think it's important to ask questions. What's bothering me about Turning Point USA right now is they're telling people to not ask questions. They're physically saying it. And I'm going, that was Charlie's mantra. Never stop asking questions.
So true.
Never stop asking questions. Anybody out there in the crowd, he would look around. Who wants to debate truth and facts and doesn't believe this? Move to the front of the line.
Yeah.
And what's happening right now is they're doing the almost the polar opposite across the board. And the more people are digging into this, social media, we wouldn't be seeing this unfold the same way if this was 1980. This is 2026, man. Everybody's got one of these. There's flock cameras. There's everything. This thing is going to get ripped open. My hope and my prayer is if this ends up being an inside thing, which I genuinely believe it is, and it does have something to do with those involved that were closest to him, that this is a quick, swift, and fair trial. And that they are held to the deepest of accounts, because they have not only, if that is the case, they've not only lied about that, they've strung this thing along, and they've called a lot of people that have believed in an organization that they've really led them astray. And I think that is significantly worse, in my opinion, than just saying, you know what, we conspired, we did something, and it shouldn't have been done, charges, and own it. Now, that being said, if Tyler Robinson is guilty, then prove it beyond the reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And charge him. And allow the dust to settle. But my take on this, Jared, and I'll just say it. I've not said it before. I'll say it now. I think this thing is set up from beginning to end. I don't think it went the way. I don't think the gunshot went the way they thought it was going to go, and they had to ad lib in the moment. I think the doctor had to ad lib in the moment. And when the doctor said, Well, he's kind of got this Superman neck. That right there, to me, was the beginning of the end, because you had all these people in the gun world went, wait, what? And then you had other people in the conspiracy theory world went, what?
Yeah.
And that started because he didn't. I think that was all tongue in cheek. I don't think that was rehearsed. I think this thing was rigged. There's proof now that they cleared the hospital before Charlie even came in. They moved everybody to another hospital. So you're setting a narrative up. You're going to have your doctor. The doctor's going to see it. The doctor's, yep, there's the bullet hole. I think the whole thing was supposed to be here. I think the whole exploding mic theory is not only true, I think it's accurate. I think what we saw was an exit, and at the end of the day, they weren't prepared for that. Something happened that they weren't prepared for, and that it was a shaped charge that was supposed to go here, and everybody goes, oh my gosh, Charlie got shot in the chest. And when that battery or whatever was dumped out his neck, I think that changed everything, Jared. And I think everybody has just been ad-libbing ever since then. It's like, now what do we do? And they were doing it in the moment. And that's what's hard for me in this. And I think this is what's hard for a lot of people right now. We've been all over in this podcast, but dude, there are so many people that we're so tired of being lied to. And now we're in political season, and every ad pops up, and Hickenlooper, Trump this, I'm like, dude, what are you doing for Colorado? Yeah. You're running for governor for Colorado. I haven't heard you say one thing about Colorado. All you keep pointing is a pick. We get it. You hate Trump. Fine. Now what? I live in Colorado. If you win, what are you doing for us to make Colorado better? I want to know. Meanwhile, the Charlie Kirk thing's happening. Everything's happening. Benghazi, or not Benghazi, Iran's happening. We got all this stuff. And I think people just want America. I think people just want to breathe, and they go, can I just have America back for a while? Can we just protect our borders? Can we just stay out of foreign oil and foreign countries and can we just leave stuff alone?
Yeah.
Can I just go to work and not pay $4.90 a gallon? It took me $111 to fill up my truck yesterday. And I go, I don't want to do this week after week. This is not what was said. This is not what was promised. And this is not where we should be. And I know this has been a hard episode, but this has also been a very good episode because I think it's truth.
Yeah.
I think people are tired, man. I think they're tired. I do. I think they're fatigued. And they're fatigued with every little thing.
Yeah, no doubt. We've talked about a lot today, and we are about to finish this. But in closing this, I think it's important to finish this and bring it in to something that hopefully can hit home and bring it back to faith before we close out.
Let's make something positive.
Before we close out with prayer. This post I saved. This is from Matt Vanswell. Don't know who that is, but regardless, I stumbled across this as I was looking for things to add to the scroll, and this fits really in line with what we've been talking about today. There's a lot that's being said about different groups, different people, different religions, even Christianity. I mean, I posted a picture of the men's group, and I think there's like 40 or 50 comments on there on just Facebook alone, and there's people on there just spewing out all kinds of stuff about how pointless and how pathetic and how
really
it's crazy. You should go read it. It's ridiculous.
I don't do comments.
Yeah, that's smart of you. But one of the comments said gods are made up by man and religion is the bane of humanity. That's what this comment said. So I got on there and I replied and I said, I agree with you.
Yeah, I just started to say that.
Jesus Christ is the solution to both of these problems.
Yeah.
Because he said God's, little g, and then he said religion, bane of humanity.
I agree.
Jesus Christ solves both of those issues. At least that's what he's supposed to. I mean, look, you can go and track the history of the church. You can argue about wars fought over and people died, bloodshed, both outside of people calling them religious wars or holy wars, but then also inside of the early institutional churches where they're killing each other and it's all horrific. That was totally taking it out of context and away from what it's meant to be. What Christianity is meant to be is not supposed to be what has been said on this podcast and referenced tragically, I think, by culture that has seen a bad take on Christianity, where people talk about, man, there's nothing more hateful than Christian love or whatever it is that they say. Well, that's because of a doctrinal drift, an ideological or even theological drift that began long ago and has continued to give people the wrong flavor, the wrong savor, because Christianity, we're supposed to be salt. You go read the Beatitudes. We talked about them on the episode with Priscilla and John pagan. The Beatitudes, that is true Christianity. That's being salt. That's being light. And this post right here reminded me of that, and I think it's a perfect thing to end on, because when we're calling out for, we got to get back on track. We can't keep on letting Islam take over. Why would we even be talking about that? Well, what's so bad about radical Islam? What's so bad about, if we've got religious freedom, what's the difference here? Well, the difference is violence versus peace. And that's why I gave the pretext of people saying, oh, the holy wars and all this, that, and the other. No. You're not understanding that that is not what is supposed to be textbook practiced Christianity, living a life like Jesus. The guy who was with them when he was about to get arrested, Peter gets out his sword and cuts off the arresting officer's ear. But Jesus says, no, hold on, that's not what we're going to do. Picks up the guy's ear, heals his ear. The same guy who's arresting him and taking him to what's going to be his crucifixion. That's Christianity.
Right.
And so this post reminds me of that so well. And it simply says this: say what you want about Christianity, but one thing I've noticed is that Christians are not out there running around screaming, Jesus is Lord, and then violently stabbing, shooting, and murdering people. Right. It seems only to be those that are screaming, Allah Akbar. Those are the people that are doing these types of things.
Yeah, it's true.
It's important to paint that contrast, I think, in concluding the conversation today, that there's a reason why on the Daily Carry podcast, two guys would come together that really got bound together by faith first. Mm-hmm. Our first conversation, whenever me and Micah met, it was not even so much, hey, what do you think about politics? Hey, where do you stand on these policies? That wasn't our first conversation at all. Our first conversation is, this is what I've been through. This is how good God's been. Mm-hmm. This is the doors that God's gotten us through, these struggles, but God. Yeah. God led us here. That's what glued us together and got us to the point of conviction to start a podcast like the Daily Carry podcast, and want to make sure that every episode, central, the theme is faith. Mm-hmm. Common sense through a lens of faith. That's been since the beginning to right now through what's been, including next week's episode, 115 episodes of the Daily Carry podcast. Carrying what we carry, carrying it well. It's because we want to be like Jesus. We want to be Christians in the way that we're supposed to where we're able to be that salt because people can see that there's something different about us. We don't hate people. Do I agree with the evil that's in this world? Of course not. I think about the gay neighbors that I was talking about. I don't hate them. I love them. I'd love to be a light to them. I'd love to help them. They ask me to come help them with anything in their house. You better believe my answer is yes. I want to be a good neighbor.
Sure. Invite them over for Mexican some night.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have a dinner together.
Absolutely. Loving people. That's what true Christianity looks like. People come into the coffee shop. There's people who come into the coffee shop that are LGBTQ. We love them. We serve them. There's some guys, some of them that love the coffee shop.
Are any of them
Same
pluses?
Thing. I don't know. Probably not.
So just to clarify, just real quick, was the plus because it's the trans thing? Is that what that means?
Well, no, because that's what the T means. So LGBTQ plus.
So what is the plus? I
don't even know what the Q is.
Queer.
Oh, well, you see,
I don't know the difference between queer and trans, though.
Well, here's the thing: the plus.
This is how ignorant I am on it.
I'm ignorant on it too. All I know is that there's a group of people that kind of want to act like that they're the OGs, and then the group of people that are the more progressives. It's a little confusing. Regardless,
I just looked at it like Paramount and Paramount Plus. I was like, what am I getting in the plus that's an extra $4 a month?
Yeah, no, I don't know, but all I'm trying to say is if you come into any of our businesses, you're in our neighborhood, any of that.
Sure.
True Christianity is meeting people with love.
Yeah.
If they want to come and have a conversation and have questions, do you think that I could be right, that I could be saved even though I'm practicing homosexuality? I'm going to tell them what I believe the Bible truthfully says because it's truth, and it can't be, oh, you can have it your way, and then you can kind of just forget about this part of the Bible. Right. I'm just standing on what I believe to be the truth. And if we can't establish a truth to have a foundation on, then what's the point of anything? If we can't be true, if we can't stand on something that's true, then we have no foundation. Yeah. We have nothing to build something solid on. And so that's what I've chosen to build my life on. I would never force anybody. I can't force anybody. That's not the way that it's supposed to be. There's not supposed to be this do it our way, convert, or we'll kill you. That is not
No,
Christianity.
that's Islam, actually.
It actually is. Yes.
No,
you're
it's
right.
exactly what it is.
That's what it says, genuinely in their text.
Yeah, and they're calling people to do it. So
Yeah, it's true.
I go backwards for just a second. So the thing you played with the guy that was the abortion doctor, was he coming out? Because I didn't read it, but did he come out and say, "I've woke up and I'm sharing this because"?
I didn't. I just read the caption. Let's watch the video.
Absolute truth. I did 1,200 abortions, first and second trimester. 1 was for rape, 2 were for incest, about 9 or 10 were for genetic defects like trisomy 21, and all the rest of them were healthy moms and healthy kids. People believe what they want to believe, and they don't want to believe that, but that is the truth.
Yeah.
I killed 1,200 kids. How can you make up for even one of them?
That's what I want. That's what I wanted to hear. I was curious where he was coming from.
That'll give you chills.
I
man.
killed 1,200 kids.
Man, there's a guy right there, like we were talking about earlier on the show. No one is beyond this wake up call.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming usually a change like that only happens because you had a wake up call and you came to Jesus.
Sure.
So I'm assuming that that's what's happened with this gentleman. I don't know much about him, but majority of the time that's what happens is that God somehow, some way, he keeps reaching for people. And sometimes he even uses other people to do it. He uses situations, circumstances, whatever you may find yourself in, to just keep on reaching and to keep on just getting you, hey, just turn. There's a better way.
See, I think God will use that message, though. I mean, I really do. That's when you said earlier, do you not have hope? No, I have. Like, that brings me hope.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm saying. We got to keep talking about it. I just don't think that I don't think we have enough people that are going to do that will invest into it until it's down to the wire. And when it's down to the wire, it's going to be a scramble fest, right? It's not going to be organized. It's going to be people going, oh my gosh. It's going to be look out for myself anyway. And it's just going to go nuts. But I don't think we have enough organization. I mean, shoot, if we just look at politics here in Douglas County and then in Colorado, I mean, we said the numbers when we sat down with Greg Lopez. He couldn't establish them, and I think there's a reason he couldn't establish them. You can't give an answer to something there's not an answer to because people aren't showing up. The real number to me is the 60% that don't vote. It's not how many votes are you going to get. It's why do we not have everybody voting?
Yeah.
And that was your question. I think your statement is we can get these things. Well, that may be, but I mean, right now nobody's even interested in even casting a vote. Yeah. Regardless of what percentages people think they're going to win by or not win by, there's a massive percentage of people that just don't even care to do anything. That's what I was referring to. We just have and I don't know if it's a lazy society or not, or they're just fed up. Maybe it's a combination of a lot of different things. But I just know people are not voting. I know they're not turning out to vote.
Yeah.
Regardless of who they're voting for.
Yeah. That's the truth. And hopefully there'll be more and more people deciding and out of conviction.
But that was good.
But
that was a good
Daily
story.
Carry podcast.
That was great to hear him say that, though.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
I mean,
that gives it way more meaning than just reading what was read earlier in the episode. So I'm glad that we ended on that because there's somebody who decided and had a wake-up call somewhere along the way and had conviction catch up with them.
But he called it what it was.
Killed.
Murdered. I murdered. I killed 1,200 babies.
And he said, how can I even make up for one of them?
Yeah.
Man, that should hit everybody.
And here's the thing. It's a co-conspirator relationship between the woman and him, right? Yeah. So she's making the decision. He's enforcing the action. So you have two people committing murder, not one.
Yeah.
Oui. I mean,
here's the thing. You can't stop at that logic because then you also have an entire government in this country that has put in place the laws that allow this to happen.
Of course.
There is blood on every single one of our hands.
It perpetuates so far. I'm just referring to in the moment, she's made it, he's doing it. And when I look at that, I go, that's two people that could have looked at each other and go, do we really want to do this today? Is this really, I mean, I don't know what happens behind the scenes with these things, but he just said 1,200 and there's maybe 12 total. I mean, it's 1%, 0.1. It's like, are you kidding me? 0.1. It's like, oh. So anyway, I'm glad to hear him say that. That meant something.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think that's a good place to be able to wrap this episode up on and bring it to a close. Know that
I pontificate. That's the problem.
That's a good thing. Pontificate. I know what that word means. That was good.
I'm not pithy. I'm going to be pithy.
Remember out there that wherever you are, whatever you're facing, that Jesus loves you and you are not beyond redemption. You're not beyond forgiveness and you're not beyond reach.
Yeah.
His arm is not shortened. He can still reach out He can save you. He can help you. And he can put you on a better path. Search that out today. Pick up his word. Read it. Seek him. And I truly believe that you will find him. And we're going to end this episode in prayer. And I think that I'm up. I'm pretty sure that I'm up.
Yeah, I don't know that it matters, but sure, go ahead.
All right.
I trust you.
Okay. Good. Lord, thank you for allowing us to have a conversation today. Thank you for the ways that you are continuing to open the doors for us to have conversations with more and more people. Thank you, Lord, for a very productive week here on the Daily Carry podcast. Thank you for the conversations we've been able to have with Greg Lopez, with John Teigen, and with his wife, Priscilla. Thank you for every interview, every guest that's been on the podcast. And thank you, Lord, for every listener. Thank you for everyone that's listened to, whether it's one episode or whether it's multiple. Thank you for every listener and all the listeners that are to come. Our prayer is that you would use this show, use this podcast, and that you'd use it to be light, to be salt. Use me and Micah, not just on this podcast, but even beyond. Continue to use us and the group of men that are both inside this community, outside, all of the people that we are continuing to come across. I pray that you'd help us to be salt and light to them. And I pray, Lord, that you'd let there be a multiplication there, that you would help us to be disciples and disciple makers. And I pray for everyone that's out there, whatever situations or circumstances someone may be facing, I pray that you would just provide encouragement, provide peace that passes understanding. And I pray, Lord, that you'd help us to seek you. And as we seek you, I pray that you let us find you and let us walk with you. That's our prayer today. And we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. The tagline. Well, first of all, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you share it with somebody. Leave a like, a comment, a subscribe, a follow, and we appreciate your support. And then also, remember the tagline?
No, because I went to, my head immediately went to, we scroll so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's one of them. We haven't said that in a while. We should get back to that a little bit. But this is the one right here.
Strapped.
Stay strong, stay strapped, and don't forget.
Thank you.
Jesus is coming back.
There you go.
All right.
Stay strong, stay strapped, and don't forget.
Jesus is coming back.
All right. I like it.
Till next time.
All right. Till next time.
I carry a gun 'cause this world's gone cold. A knife for the past.